Hi, I am your hostess, the Cine Geek. Yes, I do look crazy today, but it's my birthday and I don't care because my birthday is St. Patrick's Day. And today I'm going to talk about how many DeLoreans there are in 1885, in 1955, in 1985, and in 2015 in the Back to the Future trilogies. So not counting the video games or the comic books, however, if you would like me to, please just mention it down below. I'll be happy to answer those for you and try to figure out how many there were. Time travel obviously does get confusing, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about not time travel discrepancies, but a little bit about kind of the rules of time travel in a different video, so please stay tuned for that. And without further ado, here is my kind of explanation. I'm drawing it with dry erase markers because I feel like that's just the easiest way to kind of verbally and visually explain it. So hopefully I'm getting different, like learning types in there and explaining it to a broader scope of people. So anyway, here you go, and yeah. Okay, this is zooming in and out a lot, which is very annoying. I wish it would stop. Oh, fun fact, if you have one of these 3-ring binders that has like the glossy cover and dry erase markers, you can write on them, which in math class always helped me out a lot. So anyway, we're going to start with Back to the Future 1, and we have Marty going back in time from, of course, 1985 to 1955, and he's there for 7 days, and then he and Doc, who's around, I don't know, 35 to 45 at the time, depending what source you look at, they're able to get the car to get struck by lightning and send him back from 1955 to 1985, and this creates timeline B. So I'm going to actually do this in a different color since they've created a different timeline. So when they sent him back, they changed time. Messy timeline B. And this does create a slight time loop. So I'll go ahead and write loop in here. And I'll explain where the DeLoreans are in a minute. So at the end of Back to the Future, we see Doc coming from 2015 back to 1985 to pick up Marty and Jennifer so that we can get the events of Back to the Future 2. So going on the events of Back to the Future 2, so I'll come over here, they go from 1985 to 2015. And this point is when old Biff is going to steal the DeLorean and go from 2015 all the way back to 1955. And this is going to create timeline C, but we're actually not going to see it for a few minutes. So old Biff returns to 2015. And at this point, I'll go ahead and write timeline C. And that's the Biff timeline. And this is when Doc and Marty take the DeLorean back from 2015 to 1985. Oh, that was crooked. And that's when they're going to realize they're in an alternate timeline. So they learn pretty quickly that Biff had gone back to 1952. So they take the DeLorean and go ahead and go back to 1955 again. And they change the past. And so that's actually going to create a timeline D. However, we're really not going to see it for a little bit. And at the end of Back to the Future 2, of course, we see Doc's in the DeLorean getting struck by lightning and ending up back in 1885 for the events of Back to the Future 3. So Marty in 1885 is able to take the DeLorean that Doc left for him in 1885 in the Delgado Cave, and I'll get to that in just a few moments. So we're actually getting into timeline D here, and that's from when they changed 1955 back after the Biff timeline. So Marty is going to take the DeLorean that Doc left for him in the cave in 1955 and go back to save him. in 1885, and then Doc is going to help Marty get back to 1985 with the DeLorean hooked up to the train. And this is still timeline D. And then Doc, we also see, comes back from 1885 with the time train. Oops. That was off kilter. No, I don't have enough room. So anyway, he came back on the time train. That's not really important, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it off screen because I really don't have enough room to explain the DeLorean situation. So, of course, we have the first DeLorean in Back to the Future, number 1 right here, DeLorean 1, going from 1885 to 1955. So I'm going to go ahead and write DeLorean 1 here as well. And then he brings it back, and so there's a DeLorean 2 in 1985 for only probably 10 to 15 minutes of an overlap. It's not very much. Okay, so they go to the future, and Biff brings the DeLorean back. So when Biff is there, there are 2 DeLoreans on Saturday the 12th, 1955. And then Biff brings the vehicle back. There's still only 1 DeLorean in 2015. And then Doc and Marty take, there's only 1 DeLorean here at this time. There's no overlap. And they go back to 1955. There is overlap on that same Saturday, making 3 DeLoreans. Then Doc goes back to 1885, making the first DeLorean there. And then Marty, well, he leaves the DeLorean in the cave for Marty to go from 1955 to 1985. However, we know he doesn't do that. He goes back to 1885 to save Doc. But because that DeLorean is in a cave, that does make DeLorean number 4 in 1955. And then when Marty brings it back, it makes a second DeLorean in 1885. So we have the DeLorean they're using, and we have the DeLorean, this one right here, that's in the cave. So this one is in a cave, and then this one they're using with the train. So 1955 has 4 DeLoreans on, both of these are going to be for the whole 7 days, and then these 2 are only going to be on that Saturday of the dance. As I said, these ones only overlap for like 10 to 15 minutes, and there's only ever 1 DeLorean in 2015. So there's 2 DeLoreans in 1885, 4 in 1955, 2 for a couple minutes in 1985, and then there's just 1 in 2015. And then, of course, we have the time train, and if you read the comic books or watch the video games, there are obviously some more, and there are more in different timelines. So I really hope that made sense to everyone. Hopefully. If you have any questions, feel free to ask down below. I do have quite a few Back to the Future videos, so I'll have the link to the list down below as well as on the end screen if you have any Back to the Future questions, or if you want me to do a deep dive on any other subject, you know, ask below. I typically do them. No promises. Someone asked me to do one on the Terminator franchise, which I'll have a link above. That one took me like a month because honestly I could not for the life of me crack it. So I do try to do deep dives on things. So like I said, if you have anything you want to recommend for me to do, feel free to list it below. And I hope you kind of enjoyed this. We need a Moon Knight movie, and have a wonderful day.